Welcome into a special edition of the Husky Hockey Weekend Preview. We are live here at the XL Energy Center, which is the new home of the Frozen Face-Off for the NCHC. I'm joined by St. Cloud Times reporter Mick Hatton. Now, Mick, let's first take a look at the series that was just played against Miami. Give us the good and the bad that you saw.
Well, I'll start with the bad. I mean, the obvious bad was that St. Cloud State found themselves behind a good chunk of that series. That's not a place you want to be in the playoffs. They played from 2-0 holes a couple of nights in a row. One night they were able to tie it, send it in overtime, and lose. Other night, obviously, I mean, they tied it and then ended up coming back and winning on Isemon's goal. But St. Cloud State does, St. Cloud State wants to park that from here on out. I mean, that's not with the caliber of teams that they're playing. If they're going to get behind by 2 goals, their season is going to be over. The good part of it, St. Cloud State kind of battled through that, all weekend long. I mean, I thought on Friday, they weren't great, but they got some breaks. They made some plays when they needed to, and ended up getting some. Probably had the better goaltending on Friday night than Miami did. The other good thing was that they did show resiliency. I mean, they came back from 2-goal deficits. Not only were they down 2-0, but they were down 3-1 on Sunday night. And Miami's playing with the whole world on their shoulders. Their season was on the line. And the other thing about the series, I think that was good for St. Cloud State, was Miami played extremely physical with St. Cloud State, and St. Cloud State found a way to win games, and that's the way it's going to be in the playoffs.
Now let's move into tomorrow's game against North Dakota. These two teams faced off just a couple of weeks ago. What can we expect from that matchup?
Well, yeah, it's the 11th time in the last 2 seasons that these two teams have faced each other, and I think 4 of the last 5 and 5 of the last 7 have gone overtime. So I think you expect tight games. I think you'll see another tight game tomorrow night. St. Cloud State wants to try and get North Dakota in transition. I mean, that's where St. Cloud State's bread and butter is. They want to get up and down the ice. North Dakota's going to try and slow it down. They don't have quite the firepower that they normally do. So that's kind of going to be a couple of key things. The other thing that's interesting, with North Dakota is that, when you look at them is, Christian Wolanin and Colton Poolman really are 2 of their top 4 scorers. Wolanin actually leads the team in scoring, so they got to be very cognizant of where he is on the ice. Their top 2 lines are pretty good, but St. Cloud State's got to beat them with depth. I mean, they got to stay out of the penalty box, so that's another thing.
Now let's talk about one player for the Huskies that has been making headlines all season, and that is Jimmy Schultz. He was just announced as a top 10 finalist for the Hobie Baker Award, but does he have a shot at winning this?
Well, I think so. I mean, he's the only defenseman out of the 10 finalists that was named to the top 10. I think some of it is going to come down to does St. Cloud State make it out of the regional? I hate to put that kind of pressure into the situation, but that carries a lot of weight. If you remember when you probably don't remember, but when Drew LeBlanc won at St. Cloud State, made the Frozen Four. If you make the Frozen Four, it's going to increase your chances. He's got some tough competition. I mean, Henrik Borgstrom from Denver, of the defending national champions. He's a finalist. I think he's a very strong candidate. It's a really good field, but I think if he gets into the top 3, I mean, he's got as good a chance as anybody.
That's for sure, and it's going to be interesting to see how that situation plays out. But moving from Jimmy to another key player on the Huskies, let's talk a little bit about Mikey Anderson. He's the team's new leader in the goals scored this season, and he was also the Frozen Face-Off All-Tournament MVP back in 2016. What impact can we expect from him this weekend?
Well, he's a second-half guy. I mean, that's been proven throughout his career at St. Cloud State. He had the tough kind of medical situation before the season. I'm actually kind of writing about Mikey in tomorrow's paper, so people can look for that. But he kind of fought through that. Got himself to get healthy again, and in the last, I'd say 2-3 weeks, I mean, you started to see Mikey, the lights kind of come on a little bit brighter with Mikey, and he had a massive game in that game against Miami, with 2 goals and an assist, and he was a dominant player. He's a guy that just likes big games. I mean, for whatever reason, the stage gets bigger. He seems to play a little bit better, and he's a guy that as good a stick handler maybe as there is in Division I hockey, and key for him sometimes is he's got to give the puck up a little bit more because he takes an awful lot of hits.
He's definitely a dangerous player once you get him going, so he's going to be a guy that's going to be on everyone's radar this weekend for sure. Now let's talk about one of the big questions that everyone at home is wondering, and that is whether the Huskies can pull off another championship here at the Frozen Face-Off.
Yeah, I think the tough thing, on Friday night for St. Cloud State is, again, they're playing a team that is playing possibly for their season. North Dakota is sitting at 14th, and the Paraguay is a place that nobody wants to be right now. There's too many teams that are not locks that are still alive in conference tournaments. The bar is already up to 15. So a loss for North Dakota on Friday is going to be tough for them to overcome and make the tournament. If St. Cloud State can get themselves geared back up again, and they took a couple of days off, try and rest after that very physical series. They can definitely beat North Dakota. I mean, they beat them twice during the regular season. They played 2 other overtime games against them, so it's not like they haven't had success against them, but they want to play their game, and they don't want to get behind. But if you look ahead, Denver and Minnesota Duluth, is a rematch of the national championship game, I guess, and for the other semifinal game, and that's a fascinating matchup. Again, Minnesota Duluth might be the hottest team in the second half in the country, and a very dangerous team because they have such a good goaltender in Hunter Shepard. And when you look at Denver, I mean, 3 of the top forwards in the country and one of the best goalies. And just a really well-coached team. So it is a tough road. Can they win it? Yeah, but they're going to have to put together really good performances on back-to-back nights if they're going to win this tournament.
And now, Mick, I want to kind of catch you off guard here before we sign off, and I want to ask you, you know what's coming. What is going to be your prediction for how this tournament is going to play out?
Oh, boy. For some reason, and this will come back and bite me, but I like Minnesota Duluth on in the other semifinal game. I think that's going to be like a 3-2 game. With maybe Minnesota Duluth maybe scoring late, and I'll play the home card for you. Then I'll say St. Cloud State finds a way. And it's 4-2 St. Cloud State over North Dakota, and then I don't know. I hate to put it this way, but I think Minnesota. I'll take Minnesota Duluth over St. Cloud in the championship. How's that?
Interesting. But you have been saying all season that Duluth is a hot team, so I'm not super surprised.
No, they're one of defensively when you look at them, led by Scott Perunovich, who might be the freshman of the year. We'll find that out, I guess, later this afternoon. But just a terrific, dominant defenseman back there. And Dylan Sandberg, and they have a really good defensive group, and that plays well in the playoffs. That's why I like Duluth a lot.
Well, no matter the outcome, it's going to be a great weekend of hockey for sure. Thanks for joining us today, Mick.
No problem.
You can catch tomorrow's game on the CBS Sports Network or by Jim Erickson on 96.7 FM The River tomorrow at 4 o'clock.
That's
Here's
me.
Jim right here. He didn't want to be on our show, but he wanted to come in for when his plug came on for the show.
96.7.
You heard it from him. Make sure you don't miss out that if you can't make it to the games this weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in to this special edition of the Weekend Preview. That was
Points to Schultz. Zip pass. Schultz takes the shot. He scores!
Simon dances around the defender. Watts out in front. He scores! And Paling backhand scores! He dangled that through his skate.